If you are looking for the biggest and most active RuneScape GP gambling website, use bigboybets.com and the link will be down below. You may have noticed that all of the main items dropped by Zulrah have significantly dropped in value over the past 6 months, and there is a good reason for this happening. There is currently an estimated total of 4.5 trillion GP on Old School, which has a street value of around $6 million, and if you combine that with the RS free saber, I can't even put a figure on the tens of millions that there is altogether. So obviously with these figures floating around RuneScape, gold farming has become a prominent part of the game. Zulrah, as we know, being one of the best solo monsters to kill on the game, it was heavily farmed when it was first released, and it became an obvious target for people looking to gold farm it. There has always been talks about the drop table of Zulrah being far too good and that you can make too much money there, but nothing was ever significantly changed to stop that. We will be looking today at why these once valuable items, the Serpentine Helm, the Blowpipe, soon became utterly worthless, and the Serpentine Helm being worth around 200k right now, and the Blowpipe around 2 mil. Rewind time about 6 months ago, and also bear in mind that Zulrah came out in January, and then this footage was sent to me shortly after. So what you are looking at is the full JavaScript for a working Zulrah bot. This is the code which is followed to make the RuneScape account do anything. The people that developed this kept it amongst themselves and wanted to keep it private. I imagine it took weeks of putting together to avoid it making any errors. A script like this is very complex because, as you know, Zulrah has different phases. You need to switch between different attack styles, and it's not your typical kill and loot such as a hill giant killer where you right click and then you click attack and then you loot whatever the drop is. This is on another level. I've sat and watched an experienced scripter for 1 hour straight and just been fascinated how this language, which I don't understand, just gets applied to the game, which is essentially a bunch of numbers. It's coordinates. So to explain that to you, it's like step 1, move to tile 228, comma like 229 or whatever, and then it will say next move to tile whichever it may be, and then after that it might say interact with object, use as, it could say pick up item ID or anything along those lines. It's a whole series of events that it follows, so I can only begin to, well, I can't even begin to imagine how long something such as Zulrah took, but this was the starting point, and then after a few weeks went by I started to hear about the numbers and the figures. So on average these will be making 1.5 mil an hour. You times that by 10 hours, you're making 15 mil a day. Times that by 7 days and you're making 105 mil per week. So every single month you're bringing in about 420 mil per account in essentially Zulrah items. So if you're running 4 accounts, you're making 1.68 bill. Okay? A lot of money. So that's just one person. One person can easily run 4 accounts, do nothing, and make 6 mil per hour and bring in 1.6 bill in Zulrah items every single month. So then you have the problem of dozens of people getting onto this, and then we are talking tens of bills, and they aren't catching these people to begin with because it's in an instant Zulrah, and the complexity of the script, if it's well coded and put together and it has different variances, meaning that it doesn't go to this particular square or doesn't eat at that set point or doesn't have the set mouse speed or has a different camera angle, the chances of finding them is increasingly slim. So you just cannot catch these people, and even when you do, maybe after 1 month of them, you know, maximizing the profits from it, they're ready to go again, and on top of that, you got more and more people coming into the game trying to do it themselves. So the day that you ban some people is the day that other people start doing the same thing, and that's the vicious cycle that RuneScape has always been battling against. Any of you right now could go ahead and make 100 accounts on RuneScape. There's nothing stopping you doing that. You could then make them all members regardless of the real life cost of making them members on a game. And then you could decide to go and buff flax. Now, I'm not saying you'll make a profit from this or this is a great idea, but what I am saying is the moment you start doing that is the moment you have a direct impact on the economy of RuneScape itself. And that's why gold farming is bad, because it's not human beings doing that. You're truly just putting resources into the game that weren't there before. So if multiple people do that, you end up with thousands, literally thousands of people bringing more flax into the game. Now you'd have to pick an extraordinary amount of flax up to actually decrease the price of that. But with Zulrah, it's not like that at all. Because it was relatively new and then more people jumped on the bandwagon, that's why the prices started plummeting quickly, because there wasn't much of them to begin with. And even though all these items are really good, the more and more people that get onto the gold farming aspect and more people that are running accounts with the Zulrah, is they are directly having an impact on the economy of the game. So you need to understand that the rarity of an item, and each item does have a threshold of quantity before it ever really changes. Like for example, 10 Bandos tassets coming into the game is far worse than say 10 Zulrah scales coming into the game, because there's a big difference in price and one is a lot harder to get and it's a lot more rare than the other. But the whole point of this is however an item reaches the game doesn't really matter. So people who were doing the Zulrah botting couldn't care less if they lost their account worth so much time and money for the sake of say 50 mil Zulrah items. At the end of the day, the fact that their account is gone doesn't really change much, but the fact that there's now 50 mil of Zulrah stuff within the game does matter. So people get a little bit reckless, and that's what happens with gold farming, and that's why the economy does really take a tumble, especially with Zulrah, because people will just run mass accounts quickly for the short-term several bill of Zulrah loot, which forever gets left in the game as being there, obviously because by the time they'll sell the item, that's what happens. So they'll get Zulrah loot, they'll sell the item, they'll get the gold, and then if their account gets banned, that's lost, but the item has actually been put into the game, if that makes sense. So all in all, it's kind of like a loss for the game. The game loses out, and for the people who are playing genuinely, it's sad. But unfortunately, this can never be instantly stopped, and as I mentioned before, it's the endless cycle of Runescape that they are constantly battling with to crack down on the bots sooner rather than later. So the only thing they can do is add more people to the team perhaps, or make tighter security so that, basically people can't get away with it for such an extent of time. I remember when Old School first came out, the economy got destroyed super quick because there was no bot busting, or there was no bot detection. So people literally I knew of were getting away with it for months and months, and you could run 30, 40 accounts absolutely no problem, and then all of a sudden they thought, okay, this is going to turn bad, we need to sort this out. And once the damage has been done, I've said this time and time again, the damage has been done. So if thousands of accounts have been run at Zulrah for 2 days, let's say, it's been done, and that can't be reverted. Nothing can ever be reverted, they can only track down on it. And the problem they have all the time is differentiating the bots from the human players. So you could play your account legit for 6 months, and then on this one day say, I'm done playing legit, I'm going to bot for a few days or bot for weeks and just get away with it. And if thousands of people do that and it's a knock-on effect, then this is what happens. So I thought I'd make this video, guys, showing you the problem with Zulrah and why, or it wasn't completely why, obviously more people doing Zulrah on their account has an impact. Like if you're just a player doing Zulrah, you're gonna influence the Zulrah prices, okay? Because there's more people just like you. It's like you're not the only one killing Zulrah, because if you was, I think blowpipes would be about half a bill. It's the truest saying ever, like anything which is saturated isn't worth much money at all. It's like people who get into business in the real world. If you go down an avenue which hasn't been touched and it's not saturated, then there's a lot more money to be made. So it's the same with RuneScape. These saturated areas, I'll give you a great example, which is Green Dragons with the Dragon Hides and the Dragon Bones. Again though, they are very limited as to how much they can rise, because you can make them into green bodies and all that kind of stuff. But stuff like Abbey Demons, you don't see many bots there really, do you? So the Abbey Whips can retain their value. The problem with Zulrah is the factor of these bots. I mean, it's probably opened your mind as well to what is possible, and anything really is possible within RuneScape. It really is. I have seen it all. I have seen it all now. I really have. I've played this game for nearly 10 years, and again, nothing. It did dazzle me, this one though, because when the first time I seen it, I couldn't quite believe like how soon. And again, the potential, these people are clearly thought it out, that they're not going to waste any time and they're just going to do it right away. So again, there's a difference between the people who do and the people who don't. You could sit there and speculate an idea, But if you don't actually go and do it, nothing happens. So anyways, guys, hope you've enjoyed it. Drop a like on the video, I would appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe as well. I'm starting to ask for subs these days. People sub anyway, but you may as well see the video when it goes live in your sub box to save you the job of searching it. And then if you like the look of it, you can hit it and watch it and then click like again and repeat the process. So anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.